Welcome everyone to our live Linux and open source low level and stuff YouTube channel. The other day, like yesterday or so, Nvidia finally freaking released better ever than late. Late than never. Firmware here, their unpopular signed firmware. I never quite, so what this allows is that is just a firmware, that is like not the driver, that is a firmware that is, do I even have a freaking, yeah, they are sorted away. Graphic card, right, you all know how a GPU looks. And so this is just what the driver loads. Basically the BIOS would load something at power on self-test time, on post time. And this is just what a driver like Windows or Linux driver loads into the, like copies into the GPU for the GPU to function. That is a firmware that runs inside the GPU. And I never quite really got why we need Nvidia for that. Welcome everyone. I probably should read it here. I think a year or two ago, I once read about that. As far as I remember, and maybe I should have read it before this YouTube video, it's like, yeah, it's complicated and it's like, yeah, difficult to extract and stuff, because usually with reverse engineering you could just copy the firmware, right? I don't really quite get, maybe I should talk more with Nvidia people. Also, I once tried to talk with some Nouveau people. They were not the most supportive with my PS3 RSX works, basically, yeah, YOLO, whatever. Do whatever you want, whatever. Sometimes communication not the most amazing and stuff. If you're a Nouveau developer, leave in the comments below, because as far as I see it, you trace the Windows driver, like tracing with MMIO trace, virtualization, other such means, or I think the argument for the open source developers, like, yeah, it's so fragile, it's difficult, whatever, because I don't really quite get it. My impression is it should be extractable, right? I do this with USB devices, I do this with other devices, I do it professionally, so I don't really quite get what all the fuss is about this firmware. But here it is. And if you know more details, leave them in the comments below. Maybe it's just politics, that those open source developers like, nah, we're not doing it, we're not wasting our time with reverse engineering this bloody firmware. It should be simple, right? But somehow it isn't. Anyway, so now you can run this. The problem is you should be able to run this with the open source Nouveau driver now. Of course, performance is not totally super amazing because of reclocking, so a lot of stuff should work, except running at power on self-test boot frequencies and not later dynamically reclocked frequencies, so performance will be lacking. Maybe now that this is out there, maybe I go to eBay and auction a cheap entry-level card for like 10 or 20 pops or something. Anyway, so that's basically it. So this is basically the subject of this video. There's also more crazy firmware, including microcode updates of the microcode that also runs inside your CPU for all latest Zen generations. Zen 1 and 2, I think. Actually, they say is 17. Should that not be more? Key name, MD microcode signing key for signing microcode container files. What? What exactly? What the heck? Update CPU microcode. This is a little bit strange. Is it what I was looking for? This doesn't diff and that. Anyway, so this should be for all Zen 1, 2 and 3. Where do they? I don't really like this family names because this family is 17 AMD. Fam 17 hex, right? What is that? 17 hex is, yeah, Zen. Okay, this is, okay, so this is Zen plus Zen 2, so that would, so Zen plus like 2700. Yeah, this is why I'm not a fan of this family numbers, because if you, I mean, I'm a low-level engineer, but I'm not like hardcore in AMD's back, remembering each bloody hex value. So yeah, name this stuff like human memorizable. Anyway, so yeah, lots of firmware updates, and that is also why we update that now. Just to give you, firmware always changing, right? So this also means I should mention most likely severe security stuff coming. I don't have any inside knowledge, but I would expect that there will be mitigations for some spectrum meltdown kind of stuff. Previous videos here live on this channel. And of course there's some random, alright, and there's also AMD GPUs. So basically all major stuff, AMD CPUs, AMD GPUs, and Nvidia GPUs updated here. Here's AMD GPU. I think this was it for hangs? Fixes with hang on multi-video decodes in conjunction with... Okay, MJPEG is of course, yeah, that is of course from yesterday. This is vintage and retro. Yeah, apparently, at least as far as who knows, maybe also random. I wouldn't surprise if there is other random stuff in there, but at least MJPEG. Also probably, truth be told, nearly next to nobody is using MJPEG, right? So that should be commit F1 something. Of course, we update this in T2. You also have some more minor stuff. So this is basically summary firmware after the latest news. That is the latest news. And now let's do that in T2. GST Python stuff. Just looking. So data has just spotted some updates. Just checking what was... cool. Should we both... Oh, that is an interesting thing. 5, 6, maybe we should. And that is what I love this growing community for. Not only data, but other people. I think so. This doesn't technically really need an odd version because this isn't a 3-part version. But just in case, because previously it was 2.6.3 or something I've seen there. We better proactively mark it, because if there is tomorrow or next week a 2.7.1, then we want that. Just double checking, sanity checking. Yeah, amazing growing community. Really happy with what we achieved here the last years live on YouTube. Both marked, both odd stable. And then let's update Linux firmware. Oops. How many? I think was it 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Was it 6 or 8? Let's. No, it's 1, 2. Much. It's 7 apparently. Maybe. Oops. We will see. So we also have some other stuff to do. Of course, we don't watch this firmware to pull down here from Git. Right. We have contributors. Speaking of our growing community, so. There is xmconf, that downloaded, interesting that downloaded, because the other day I couldn't download some P3 updates, as you see. I wonder what was going on there. Yeah, this Git stuff is somehow annoying. Even the firmware stuff so large that I think this times out. Did I unmount? Yeah, I think this was a type. Okay, fine. Did this download now? Yeah, so less than 10. So maybe we need a longer timeout. That is super annoying. Maybe we need... Nah. Anyway. By the way, the only reason we don't have drop frames today, and welcome everyone, is because, of course, Vodafone's infrastructure failed. I couldn't live stream with 2 Mbit, right? So we stream 3 Mbit over LTE, because of course we do. So XM, well, we hope this bloody firmware eventually loads there. XM, and so they say on our Discord that they cross-compiled that. Was it xmconf? And so yeah, some roots, that is interesting. So probably few. So they, I think they work with an old version, because that is interesting, course, we removed previously, we made great efforts to remove semicolons, right? So either they work with an old version or they added that back. But if you make file, I wonder if you could. This is okay. We write this to local makefile. Okay. So we need to be careful though. I mean, I will apply that as it, but one heads up is that if this is compiled, we need to be careful. Not that the cross-compiled exim has those prefixes compiled in. Maybe we actually should check that. Maybe we should, and that's why I live stream this, right? I mean, besides the Nvidia entertainment, basically all this stuff also somehow too overworked and stuff. All this stuff takes time, right? Why does this not? Is it not marked cross-compile? It is not even marked cross-compile. Did say exim something. So they must have also marked it cross-compile. So to be fair, we didn't have exim marked to cross-compile, and it sounds that it. I mean, there is not that much magic, right? Previous videos, if you use something as sophisticatedly set up as T2s and stuff, usually just cross-compiles, except when it does crazy stuff like running custom binary commands. And it wouldn't surprise me the way that this was configured now, that it right. Was RISC-V, that it includes the path. We can usually check this easily. Why is this user exim? Is that normal? What? That is an. I've never seen that. That looks somehow that could break something. To be honest, is that a regression from? Maybe we anyway check this first. So that looks somehow not right to have this in bin exim. So that is certainly a rare thing. Yes, please. That was like etc something. No. Binary file matches. Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. So x in ext. Whatever. Yeah. So I would expect that this doesn't work, right? This is exactly what I expected. That this path is. We basically could check what, and then also people wonder that it doesn't work, right? I think there was. I didn't quite follow that because I don't have time to follow each discussions on Discord personally. I also wonder, maybe I made a mistake. Maybe I should have with GoFundMe and Patreon. Maybe I should have made the Discord Patreons only. And maybe I should. Probably not easy retroactively, but whatever. So, exim conf. Let's see what also. All right, here's Nvidia. Okay, does it even make who added that there though? Is that now? Ah, look at that. They added. So they just added this exim. That is not where I really want that. Okay, so that obviously this also. It takes time, right? I don't even realize that people drop in the stuff. So yeah, this doesn't look quite all right. Let's maybe, and yeah, recurring theme, right? People always think open source is for free and stuff. I spent the better half of my last 20 years doing open source stuff, right? And people think applying patches also comes for free or stuff. In case you wonder why I do this funny YouTube channel. So Bindia, okay, right, we had to revert all of this strange stuff. I've run Exim without this stuff, right? So maybe that is a new thing that someone at Exim upstream decides. Oh, wait a second, why is this? Info dear Bindia. And then let's see if it has Destia support. Maybe they don't, we will see. So what is our firmware? I know it downloaded apparently. Yeah, it's a timeout thing, so the Git stuff needs so long to generate the tarball that it takes some tries to actually download. So Exim, that's also killed that too early. Welcome everyone, welcome Paul, how are you all doing? Hope you're doing fine. And glory to Ukraine. Exim, so let's see, do they have Destia? Destia is a more common variable that root for use when installing recognizes. Okay, they have Destia support, so they have root and Destia. Why do we... we reset that apparently, maybe? Yeah, here somehow. Maybe it doesn't support most of the other stuff. Should that? I think that probably should work. So let's see then if that is all it takes to... Maybe we check the log first. Welcome everyone. So yeah, Linux firmware. So yeah, as discussed in the beginning of this Linux firmware now live in T2, because of course it is. And what did we want? I wanted to check whether Exim is using the proper... no, they use CC. That is not properly cross-compiling. Oh, come on. You can't mix this. Yeah, crazy build systems. Sorry, theming. Good that we double-checked that. If you wonder, I have 20 years of experience of fact-checking freaking open source and store stuff. Oh, man. Oh, man. So yes, so much also to the cross-compile stuff, right? They cross-compile stuff and it doesn't even... No, let's by the way sort this here a little bit. I actually personally prefer to keep those maybe there. Preconf, is it preconf? Maybe more readable. This is all about readability and theoretically, maybe there's also no point in making this 2 lines, 1 line to be honest. So Destia and CC. So let's see what they use for CC. Yeah, we just deleted that. Let's do that again. Wait a second. Is it somewhat looks slow? Is it no parallel? No, it isn't. MTA cross. Right, because we probably built with J5. So CC. Right, you know why? Because we reset the make ops for some crazy reason. Why would we even do that? Should we try without it? So this is super old code, right? Why do we have that here? Let's try without that. var append. I mean, we probably don't even do. We really need make all. It's probably the default target, shouldn't we? You know what? Let's try. You know, honestly, this should be enough. if this really needs install cp to install for some vintage reason. Yeah, of all things, that is open source stuff, right? You maintain your Linux distribution. The one thing you didn't expect to do is cleaning up decade old. Okay, this indeed doesn't build so much to... Ah, you know what? It runs... Okay, it runs native stuff here. xmlog utility, yeah. What does it do with it? Okay, so much to cross-compiling this stuff. Apparently not that easy. Let's see what this is even supposed to do. Yeah, and that is the surrounding stuff, right? Not blindly applying stuff. First of all, it was messing up the bin there, but second of all, also that this actually even does something useful. Ah, wait, this is not... Ah, this is... It's wrong... Exim, where was it? Build config. Where is it even? Yeah, also fun check, you shouldn't... Yeah, using C and stuff to build intermediate and config stuff, it's not the most advertised. What we probably... I wonder... what does it even... It is also crazy that after so much time this isn't more amazing. Config header for... Okay, to be honest, it doesn't cross-code. So if this is using native stuff and... why would they do that? This is so hilarious. Yeah, no, I don't want to run XM anymore. Oh man, this is so totally not how you're doing it. And you want to trust those people to run a freaking mail server. Oh my, in which parallel universe? Yes, this is as bad as Star Trek Picard, man. Parallel universe where everything freaking sucks, TM. Okay. Basically that is a no-go for today. That is not easily YOLO-able. This info is also new. Maybe we try a native build though to see if that cleanup works, and at least we have not wasted our time, but a tiny little cleanup. Do I have this installed? Maybe not. Oh, no, I have. Let's see if we have at least some win of this, not win-win, but win-lose of maybe clearing that up a tiny little bit. Ah, that does something amazing. Yeah, not sure if it does work. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. Cheers. It's like a little bit, but again, it needs some major surgery to make this config stuff. Paul writes, since 2017 it's been forced to remove XM on any OSA use. Yeah, I hear you. So we had one more. All right, we had some things that of all stupid things. I experienced this myself. Which one is it here? And yeah, I'm aware that here is also a patch for XM, which maybe we should apply, but yeah, OpenSSL. The problem is I tried this quite some time ago, probably last year, over a quarter ago, and it OpenSSL for the most part still built most stuff, but not like Python, which I would personally not even use the most, but some stuff needs to build. Yeah, Meson and Ninja, right? Plus liquid control stuff for my liquid cooling, which I also still need to write in something sane. Anyway, so yeah, this is why, is it worth to apply this patch, maybe to wait some more months for more upstream and Python to catch up with OpenSSL before that. But which one was it here? Someone was saying, is here the, which package is that? X keyboard config. Yeah, I've seen that personally myself, and maybe even live on this channel, keyboard config, when we updated that. And I should know enough better. I should have instantly hotfixed that, so much to, if you don't have, but what I did that day, it's custom command leads and FVR. I set this, I'm pretty sure just a few days ago I set this, probably in the data update stream or something. But yeah, if you don't instantly, in the future, if it is like less than 5 minutes or so, then I should instantly do that, because otherwise you have just other people. Why does this not match? Thank you very much. Then LNS space also, just trying, here it is, to find this location. So yeah, this would not build, and this is a recurring theme, right? I had this for 20 years, Rock Linux times, and 20 years with T2. I constantly wonder, like, how did it work for other people? And the only answer is they didn't. Well, if you, with some RPM stuff, I think some RPM packaging stuff always installs with Desti, and some like packaging this in some temp, empty folder, hash value, whatever. And then if you always install this into some empty sandbox for collecting your install file stuff, then sure. But anyone, any developer or user who would just make install this, or Meson install this, it's like, yeah, would not have worked here, right? This is what I, with stuff like this really often is although actually maybe I should have checked if Dr. Schubert, maybe someone, no, I actually, I did install this, so nobody patched this yet, I guess. Theoretically, we could, I mean, super most amazing style, which maybe we should follow, is including actually why this was necessary. Maybe now that will become more bigger and stuff, maybe we should adapt even more professional work methods here. So yeah, you can't make this stuff up, it's hilarious. Anyway, was there more? I think this was the major stuff. Actually, we could also be super nice to them and acknowledge that here. So yeah, firmware that fixes, I guess that is it for today. Some open source work in the morning keeps bitrot away. So yeah, I've done that, I've done that. We scrolled over that. Yeah, data is amazing. Every minute I spend, I mean in total, yeah, 3, 4, 5 hours with this data bot stuff. Amazing AI up. This is it's priceless. It's amazing. Actually, hey, there's a Nouveau version. You heard it here first on this channel. It's apparently marked stable. Let's see what they have And yet, to make this a more successful YouTube channel, I could and should maybe make a 5-minute Valorant video. But we are not known to be the most smart YouTuber here. What do they have? Release supports, quite some stuff. Is there anything new? PowerPC 64 LE. Do they support? Big Endians they support. Do we have marked this accordingly? Speaking of which, I yesterday turned on my G5, first time in a year. That is the thing. I wanted to mention, does this support RISC-V yet? MIPS 32, does this support MIPS 64? Yeah, this is support, amazing stuff. This is unexpected. So the thing with this vintage and retro stuff, I mean, obviously I use my stuff a little bit, but even okay, to be fair, I switched on my PS3s monthly, but that is the thing, right? With all those, you see all those YouTubers with all their fancy pens, vintage and retro stuff, and it's just standing and collecting dust, right? It's like nice to look and stuff. But I mean, realistically, even I, with my fancy little T2 Linux distribution, I don't run the stuff daily or even weekly. It's like, yeah, G5, first time in a year probably. Yeah, I switched on other stuff obviously, but so much to always wanting more, like the next cube, the next station. It's like, yeah, in reality it only collects dust and you spend your hard-earned coins and for dust collecting stuff. And yeah, obviously it's not daily drivable, right? And very power hungry. So I said it before, I'm not even after collecting even more of the most vintage and retro stuff. It's, yeah. So what else do we have there? Fix Rust version 0, name demangling. Quad changes, Linux rsync, no implements, only returns. Interesting stuff. By the way, do they support I/O Uring? Wait a second, would they? And that is the thing, right? Actually, I wonder what S-Trace does with I/O. When should we? All the modern complexity, right? X-Trace, I/O Uring, S-Trace events. Yeah, and then it's like high performance and stuff, and in the end. Okay, you see this. I slightly wonder. Then, I mean, maybe you don't, or would you get S-Trace? How would that work? Or would you get? Interesting. Maybe something to review in a future episode. Anyway, there's a new Valorant version. In case you are after finding memory safety issues in your classic C programs. Cool. New PowerPC instructions. Fix bugs. Yeah, Valorant is pretty amazing. There's that. So yeah, quite some changes. FreeBSD. ARM64, by the way, do we mark this ARM64? Oh, ARM64 maps. Yeah, that probably looks about right. I was thinking of getting the following, eventually start T2 career. Speed NESA 64 is Linux board, all winner D1. Support Tino Debian system, no Valorant available yet. Yeah. Sounds amazing. So yeah, I said in the previous video, I mean, I understand the all winner D1. I don't get everything anymore. I probably, because it makes no sense, right? I have so much time. I don't, it's like yet another small board computer thing. Doesn't really allow me to do anything new, more sophisticated, differently, help me in any way. It only spends more time and stuff. But I understand it certainly for those who don't have anything, that is certainly a nice entry thing. And that would mean that those contributors would need to maintain that a little bit, right? Kernel patches or other boot glue and configuration stuff would be highly appreciated. Just I don't have more time, and I mean this board is cheap. I would have enough money, but I simply don't have enough time. But I will also hope that with a growing YouTube channel that companies start to send more stuff in for review. That certainly then I could spend an hour or two reviewing this stuff and so on. Anyway, that's it for this video. We and Data made some updates, firmware. Maybe I go to eBay and check an $20 used Nvidia card now that the firmware works, just to have some test stock, because yeah. So did I just say I don't want more vintage and retro? But to be fair, that Nvidia stuff is not that vintage and retro. But that's also a thing, right? Luke Verhagen, with pronunciation, discusses there with me this OpenVR SPCX2, and whether $100 for that is a lot or not, and that the price will go up. I honestly am not sure if the vintage prices go up. Don't buy this vintage retro stuff as investment. People could also get tired, right? I mean, this stuff is mostly unusable, and you can run most stuff in emulators. And with emulators, you don't need to spend the money. You don't have dust collecting stuff that could break. So I'm not really convinced that this commodity PC hardware will become that much more expensive. It could become even cheaper, right? Maybe that is the height, the peak now, and people move on and do something else with their life. Also, we have climate crisis coming, and climate change coming, and all those wars and food crisis and stuff, and water. So the next decades will anyway not be the most amazing, and then maybe people will do something more important with their lives than tinkering with vintage and retro stuff. And I find $100 really a lot, right? I always said I don't overspend lots of this, except the PS3 debug tool. But all the other stuff I bargain, negotiate down, right? I'm not overspending for vintage and retro stuff. Usually my rule is I wait years for this stuff to be cheap, and even then I ask the seller for a discount. And often I get it, right? 10, 20, 30 euro there, 10, 20, 30%. And that is the reality, right? And I'm not contributing to, because I could afford this, like driving the vintage and retro prices up. And if this stuff is overpriced, hundreds of euro for the stuff, I simply don't buy it, right? I don't need more vintage and retro stuff to waste even more of my time with that, because I would only need to get open source stuff to work and so on. And then yeah, to get open source stuff to work, to donate my time to develop stuff, I should even spend my money that I don't earn with open source on this vintage and retro stuff. No, I don't. And I also said in the comment there with this Power VR, it's like, yeah, 100 euro for what? For something you can't use for anything productive and reasonable. And with a fraction of that, maybe with half or quarter, like $25 or $50, you probably get a somewhat halfway decent Nvidia card here. I'm not saying Nvidia is amazing. Of course, Nvidia sucks big times for their Linux open source and firmware situation. But it is more reasonable for me to spend $25 to $50 on a used Nvidia card from the last years for reasonable office productivity and T2 Linux testing and stuff than over $100 freaking on a 25-year-old card that is basically usable for next to nothing, except as a hobby and spending your time on that. So yeah, putting that into perspective. William says never afford alpha. You mean DEC alpha, right? Yeah. So I recently, there was a 400 megahertz DEC alpha, and that went for, I bid a little bit. I forgot how much, 200, 300. But this is also the maximum, right? This is also the thing, right? For 300 you might get a whole DEC alpha if you're lucky, and for over 100 a Power VR thing. Thank you very much. This is DEC alpha. I also didn't bid more. I didn't get this. I think it went away, I forgot, for over 500 euro or more. And I would have maybe spent that much running my Linux distribution, although it's vintage and retro, just to have a DEC alpha. But then I would have wanted a more last generation 600 megahertz model or so. If I spend that much, which is quite a bit, then I at least want half decent performance. And you've seen 4000. Yeah, by 4000 I would only spend for the very last 1 gigahertz version or stuff. But even for 1,000 I wouldn't spend. I mean, this is crazy. The 400 megahertz version went away here in Germany for 400 or 500 something. But even I with Linux distribution, I wouldn't spend that much. 200 maybe or 300, but then it really ends. Because I was also thinking, right, a 400 megahertz DEC alpha is slower than a PS3, right? Why should I spend so much money for something as power hungry and less powerful than even freaking PS3? That is just silly. And realistically, for what, right? I run T2 or any other Unix on this, and I have a faster Spark. This is even single processor, right? I have a dual processor Spark and even that is slow. Even a dual processor Ultra Spark with dual 1 gigahertz, or actually I think I have dual 1.2 gigahertz. Even that is freaking slow compared even to a PS3, and the PS3 is already slow on the CPU side of stuff, right? And this is also why I didn't bid more money on this, because even truth to be told, my previous video, even if my upgraded G4 Cube is faster than, right, my G4 Cube is a 1.2 gigahertz PowerPC CPU upgrade in there, and why should I then spend my hard-earned? I already earn next to nothing except your Patreon and YouTube membership and stuff, and then I should spend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars for DEC Alpha just to maintain it for free in T2 Linux. Anyway, crazy stuff. Was it useful? I don't know. Anyway, maybe it's useful for don't overspend your hard-earned money on vintage and retro stuff. Maybe it is more satisfying, energy efficient, and you learn more if you re-implement this in an emulator. So maybe my pro tip is also, instead of pissing away your hard-earned money, maybe educate yourself and have more fun writing an emulator like GX emulator or PC emulator or QEMU and stuff, and you don't spend money, you maybe learn more, maybe it's more satisfying. I mean, otherwise you have just physical hardware that you unpack and use and stuff, and with software maybe it's even more fulfilling to create something for real and learn even more, because you need to dive into all the internals and reverse engineer and debug the stuff. And maybe, anyway, it's really enough for this video. I hope you learned something. T2, more updates here. I guess then we can really release it now with freaking Nvidia software firmware update. And I hope to see you next time for all the next more fun to come. Hey, and 0